Hello all. In this video we are going to work with the databases. So we have various databases to interact with, SQL and NoSQL databases. So in this particular session we will work with SQLite 3, that is the built-in dataset which is built-in database which is available with Python. Okay, Python interpreter. So the steps to connect to the database and update or perform any operations with the database are more or less same for almost all the types of databases. So SQLite 3 is the one which we are going to use. The name of the database is SQLite 3. So you don't have to install it; it comes along with your Python installer. So this is a built-in file-based SQL database. Okay, so this database is available along with your Python interpreter installed on the from the day one. So you don't have to explicitly install it. So it is available. And if you want any other databases like so Oracle or MySQL, so we can refer. This is the repository. Okay, this is the global repository available for you. You search for any databases if you want to work with. So for example, MySQL connector is the one database you may want to use this to install on your system and use it. Okay, if at all you want to work, so you can get this particular package installed using this particular command. Okay, you have to just go on the command line and run this pip install. Remember, you don't have to go to Python prompt. Okay, so just go on CMD on your Windows machine, and then on the black window on CMD command prompt, you could simply install this using pip install MySQL hyphen connector. Okay, similarly, if you want to work for Oracle, so CX Oracle is the library which is available. You may go and take this one, so you can install this library. Okay, so yeah, these are the libraries. I mean, these are the packages available. You may want to use them, but SQLite 3 is one which we are using today, and it is no different. Okay, the steps and the procedure to connect to any database is same what we are going to do with the SQLite 3. So the very first thing is you have to create a DB connection. Okay, so we will see DB connect or connection. You will simply create SQLite 3 dot connect. Okay, so before that, even I would like to go through SQLite 3 attributes and the functionality what is available. You can see, you just go through that. You need to have some basic database knowledge when we want to perform. We are more towards Python specific things. We are going to check how to create a database instance here, and then work with the database, where we will try to create a database table, and then add some entries and execute some queries, SQL queries to fetch the data, to retrieve the data from the database tables, and then we will see how we can perform the operations. Okay, so yeah, this is the basic about SQLite 3. And so let me now use a connect command, a function. Okay, you may look at this. You can check the help page. It will give you a quick help, which this function is to open a connection with the SQLite database, which is a SQL database. You can use the same connect or connection function for MySQL database. You may use this similar function for Oracle. So all these functions does the same work. It establish a connection with the database. Now we are working on SQLite database, so it will work with the it establishes and it opens a connection. You can check. Okay, so this is how we can connect if it is a SQL database, and if you are working let me just check that. Okay, this is something it expects. I need to give, let's say, employee DB. Okay, I can create some database. Suppose if you are working on MySQL connector, MySQL.connector connect or connection function. Okay, so yeah, connector. Okay, maybe let me check. I have it already installed. Import mysql dot hyphen connect dot connector, mysql dot connector dot maybe connect. Yeah, so this is the function. Okay, so we can have similar functions to establish a connection, so more or less same. Okay, there's no much difference, so we are not going to get confused with many databases. Now currently we are just focused on MySQL like a database, that is SQLite 3 database. Okay, it is a file based database. The moment we create, you could see that you will see in this particular location, you will see ls and check the files. Okay, you got emp underscore db. Okay, so these are some of the Jupyter notebooks. Oh, okay, actually this you can see on this left side itself, right? It is created here. So you could see how we are actually creating a database file. This file does not have anything as of now, but yes, the single database table is getting, we can create a database table, but this is a database schema got created with the help of connect function. Okay, it does connect to the local database and you have created a file based database. This is a file. Now we got a file that is nothing but a database now. So there is a Python object we need to create and that is called cursor. So if you check the help page of dir of this db connect, you will find so many interesting functions here. You could check when to close or commit, right, and the cursor and execute many. So some of the important functions we have to understand. So for now I'm using a cursor equal to db connect connection dot cursor. Okay, so this is a Python object. Okay, this is a Python object which we can use to connect to a database. So once we have this connection, the cursor, we can execute. Okay, so there are many commands you can execute at a time, but for now we want to create one at a time. So we can write a query here, create table. You can create some table name, maybe empl info. So empl db is the file. This is a file based data set. This is a file based database. So the employee db is the file. Okay, now employee info. Okay, employee info is the table we are going to create now, and here I will use the information like employee id. Okay, it is of type integer. Then employee name, this is of type varchar. Okay, you can choose what you want, and I would probably join year of joining as let's say integer. Okay, that's okay. So our aim is not to explore so many options with the database, but for now I'm trying to get only some basic stuff, basic things to create a database. Okay, so let me run this. Yeah, it worked, and great that I don't have to save this, but yes, the database got created. So some data is now entered into empl db. Okay, so we will check what is there, but we just got a table created in it, right? We don't have any data as such as of now. Okay, so what we can do is we can use some basic details to put into the database now, right? We got a table. Now what we can do is we can use execute command. Okay, execute function here. So execute function will execute the insert query or any query for that matter, right? So for now we will write a query here, insert into empl info. Okay, that's our table name, and we want to insert values. Okay, and what are those values we want to insert is like let's say 1001 and then Akash. Okay, let me use triple quote here. I preferably use triple quote so that I can use single quote inside this, right? So Akash is the name and year of joining, so 2017, let's say. So this is how we can have these details to be inserted into a database, and let's see if it works. If it works, we can try and execute something more. Okay, but it seems something went wrong. We have to see what is that. Maybe I will remove this quotes. Oh yeah, actually there is one quote which is not good here. Okay, I think this was good. Yeah, so there was one extra single quote after 2017 and bracket somewhere here, right? So that was the mistake. But yeah, so now we got this created, and now I don't know if it is exists or not, but what we can do is we can try to fetch it and try to print. Okay, maybe I will write one more command. Okay, one more execute statement here. So here I will be writing query select star from, okay, from EMPL info. Okay, so once you do that, you will get whole information fetched to a cursor. Now we have to fetch from the cursor. Okay, so let's say I will just write here fetch all. Yeah, you can fetch all the data here and check what is there. Perfect. So we can see that data got fetched from the database. Okay, this much is the way. This is all to connect to a database. A very simple way. There are only few commands we should understand, and basically principally we should know that how and when to use this, right? So basically one very important thing is to connect to a DB. The second is create a cursor to the DB. Third is command execution. That's all, right? And then if you want to fetch, you fetch it, right? If you don't want to fetch, you have to perhaps commit it. Okay, so yeah, that's all we can do with the database. Now let's try, and I will open another file just to show you how we can interact with the same database, and instead of creating a table this time, I would maybe otherwise I will use other the different the ID itself. Okay, so let me take spider here. Okay, I will go and create a new file, db query, db query .py. Okay, so now I want to query to a DB. That's it. Okay, we don't want to do so much here, so we can just query import SQLite 3, and here you go, you connect to the same DB and check if you can get a cursor. Done. Then instead of creating a table, you don't do, instead of inserting data, you don't do, you just do query. Okay, fetch it, and then you can print the data which is fetched. Okay, now let's try and run this. I run it, but yeah, you will see that this DB is not found. Okay, so this table is not found, this table, so that means the DB which we are probably connecting is something which is a different one. Okay, and that could be the reason, because currently I am into home directory, whereas our database has been created at some other location, right? So this is the location. So the option we might want to use is we can use this DB. You can copy this DB and paste it to a home directory. Okay, so that way you may have this okay, this file somewhere here. let me paste it. Okay, I can't see that. Okay, let me run a command, empl db to home directory. Okay, so that's how we can get that as well. This is just a way to do. Now I run and look at this. There was no error this time. Okay, but neither there is a data, so that's a strange thing, isn't it? So here there is no error. That means the DB is now present, but select star is not giving any information. That means that data is actually not present. So where the data has gone, because we were able to see this. Okay, so we were able to see this particular details, but unfortunately I can't see it when I fetch from the same file, right? So let me clarify one important thing which we missed is the commit part. Okay, we haven't committed the code, committed the queries or whatever we have done. So those things are important. So we have to commit cursor dot execute, and I have to use a commit command. Okay, the moment I commit, I can also close. So I can use a cursor to close the DB. Okay, so that you have completely processed. And let me copy this file once again, because now this got committed. The changes are now available. Now here if I run again, so you will see that this time I got the data. That means the commit part was missing. Okay, this time I run the same. I did not do any change here, right? So just that EMPL file, the DB file is copied from the location where I have run all these things. So in this particular program, I have connected the DB, created a DB table, then I have inserted some information, I have selected, I have printed, right? So this whole process worked well. But the same thing I do on the other file here. I just do select, because we know EMPL database, this particular file should have the details of whatever we have created and inserted, isn't it? So surely we understand that this particular file should have data, but we didn't find. The reason was we didn't commit earlier, right? So later on when I commit these changes and then close the DB, so you close or you don't close, but the commit is important, so that once you commit, that file will actually be saved. Okay, then later on you can definitely copy that file anywhere and you can just retrieve the data using select queries. So you will find SQLite some interfaces or IDEs to interact with the database, but yes, this is the command line way. In a Python program you can retrieve and get some information from the database. So that's a simple exercise, but this gives you quite a good amount of information. One more function I want to explain you here. So we have I repeat, I will once again perform this action here, and now this time I don't create the table, but instead I will simply insert the values. Okay, I will use one more cell here, so maybe I'll just okay, I will use one more below this. Okay, here, and in this particular cell I might want to use some data and insert some little bigger data. Okay, maybe I have a data set. This is a list of let's say I will use tuples. Okay, so list of tuples. In each tuple will have some information, let's say 101 or 1002, and the next value is 101 is already there, Akash is already there, so I'm thinking to take, let's say, Alexander. Okay, so and then 2015. Okay, that's one data, right? So I will use one more, 1003 comma, I will put this as in a single quote. Here maybe I will use John comma 2019. Okay, you could also use 1004 comma here a name Mohan comma 2018. Okay, so suppose this is the data which we want to process or insert, okay, into a database 4 and 5. Okay, So let's say Sejal, comma 2018. Okay, so this is a data, a simple data set with some there are 4 records, okay, 4 different employees with different names, different date of joining and different employee ID, and now I want to insert this into a database, right? What we can do is unfortunately I think I have closed this database, so I have to open again. So I can do that quickly. So I get a connection, I get a cursor, but this time I'm not going to run this, because even if I run, this will throw an exception, because it will say that the employee table is already exists. So let's not run that. Now here execute, I don't want to do this either, because this data is already exists in the database. So if I do, it will insert once again, but we are not interested to do so, right? So now I got this data set. I want to execute one more query here. So okay, instead of execute, we can go and use execute many, because execute and execute many are more or less same, just that the execute will execute only a single entry, single command or single query, and execute many will work with your entire data set, right? The second attribute repeatedly executes the SQL statement. So the second attribute is what the data set it expects, and first is the query, okay, whatever is the query. Okay, so query would be insert into so the database name and the values. Okay, insert into database name EMPL underscore info, not a database name, it should be table name, sorry, table name, and then the values. We should ideally give the values 1 2 3 4 here. Okay, but here we have to give the question mark, so that's a position holder. So because we are using this with some data, and that data is not yet inserted, right? So given here, so data set we can provide here. So the execute many will run this query for many times for all the values in this particular iterable. Okay, so I run this, and here I go, I don't see any error. That's a great thing. I execute a select all from the database, and I see now, fantastic, we got all this data which we have just inserted. Okay, I copy this file. Okay, I don't copy, I will first commit it, and then I will not close, but I will just copy this file once again to home directory, so that I can run the same code here, and I will see how it will execute. Okay, look, I have got this executed, and I can see that 1001 Akash 2017, 1002 Alexander 2015, 1003 John 2017, and so on, right? So all the data, that means complete 5 records I can fetch from the database. So that's all about a database. So how we interact with the database, how to insert into a database, and how to get this values or details from a database. Okay, so now suppose by mistake I want to take you one quick exercise. Here suppose what is the process you follow is you create a connection, and then a connection object, and then create table, right? Suppose by any chance after this you write this code, okay, small code to create a table, and you run this program now. Okay, unfortunately your program gets stopped. Okay, but it why it is stopped is because it has given an exception called operational error. Okay, and what is the syntax, what is the quick understanding about this exception is employee info table is already exists. So that's where we learned about exception handling in one of the session, that we should handle this because we don't want our program to stop abruptly, and this is what exactly happened today, right? So our program got abruptly stopped. Okay, so to avoid that we can put this into a block. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, so we can put this into a block, the create statement, and then you could use exception as say print table already created. Okay, so error, let's print it this time. Okay, so I run again, and this time you see that the table already created. That's the message you got, that info is provided here, but rest of the things were doing good. So that is why many times the exception needs to be handled, and that's the that's important. So basically I should have this cursor up here before this. Okay, we can create cursor at the very first time. Ideally we should have this try block here as well. So you could try this, and then you could handle this as well here. Okay, so that's a good practice. Suppose if you find this time it is the very first time it works, and the second time, third time, and any number of times if you try, it will give an error. Okay, exception. So I will write this a client code. So this is a client code I write in the same Jupyter notebook for your future references. But yes, this is how you can interact. Client code. Okay, you may write this client code anywhere, and your data should have definitely the database is your file. This is a file based database, so your database should have this information. Okay, so so this is how we can interact with the database. We can get what you are actually trying to get from the database, and you can add something, you can store it, you can carry this file. Nobody can read unless they have a database connection access, or database with the SQLite 3 commands. So that's a secure way you can insert and fetch and keep this data for in your database, right? So very simple steps. I hope you learned about how to interact with database. Quite simple things. Just to summarize quickly, I will close this with the last last thing, which I'm trying to put the whole thing in a single cell for your future references. So this is how we connect. This is how we create a cursor. Okay, and this is how you can try and create a table. If it exists, you don't have to create. That's what we mean by using exception try and except block. And then you could definitely insert one entry, one query, or you could use many queries. Okay, so both the things you can do as well, right? Not necessarily one at a time. And then we can also select the queries and fetch. That is optional, but we can simply say we will now commit and then close. Okay, so that's the way, that's how we should work on, that's how we should get our database server, and you can add this whole things into a database so that anybody can access. Okay, so that's how we can interact with the database. Now if you replace SQLite 3 with any other database, the steps or the procedure is no different. Okay, so yeah, that's all about the database interaction. I hope you understand this. You have to do some practice. Maybe we will do some practice session there. I will try to insert some of the data into database so that we can use it for later. We can keep it for later use. Okay, thanks for watching.